I have so much to say in this video that I don't even know where to begin. I have like a brief outline or, just some notes of my thoughts. I had to do a full brain dump because I just could not afford to post 500 tweets about it, but I did post on Twitter a little bit about my thoughts, especially on the discourse around the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think that's really where my issue falls. It isn't really with the movie at all, although I will talk about the movie. The first part of this video is going to be a discussion / rant, although I think I'm gonna dial it back a little bit. I have like 2 pages of ranting. I've slept on it a couple days. I don't feel like I need to do that much of a rant, so hopefully I may film all of it and then edit some out. I don't know, because I don't think it needs it. It's not necessary. So the first part of this video is going to be a discussion about the conversation around the movie, and then we'll get into the actual review. So if you're not interested in my rant, I know not everyone loves my rants, you can go to this time to skip to the review, and also spoilers will begin at this time. So you can get a spoiler-free review and then a spoiler review if that's what you want from this video. I don't really know. I'm gonna have it in chapters, so you can just click around. Now I'm gonna start by saying that I did not like the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. I'll get more into why in the actual review, but I think going into the conversation, you need to know that right off the bat, and I need to be very upfront with the fact that this movie was not for me. I did not enjoy it. However, I will say there are many things that I liked about it, and in the spoiler-free section of the review, I talk about the things that I do like about this movie, because I think it did some things really, really well. So I don't hate everything about it. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. It's not the worst Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie by any means. Just want to put that out there. So the main criticism that I've actually seen going around, especially on Twitter, are from the people who actually like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, the new one. Now, I haven't seen the other side, but I know that there are people who dislike the Texas movie who are tracking down tweets of people who like it and just kind of shitting on them for no reason. And I don't think that that's necessary, obviously. However, a lot of people are kind of going too far in the other direction, being very hypercritical of the people who don't like this movie, saying that they take the horror genre too seriously. And if you've watched my videos for quite a long time, you know that I generally agree with that sentiment. My favorite era of horror is early 2000s teen movies. Like, I get it. I don't take the genre seriously at all, okay? I'm here for a good time. Horror is entertainment to me. That's all it is. At the end of the day, yes, it can mean much more. It can have like deep, really impactful political and social statements and everything like that. But at the end of the day, it's entertainment. And there are absolutely those horror fans that are super annoying when they're being so hypercritical of the genre for no reason. They dislike a lot of the horror genre, even though they are horror fans. And that's fine. You can like one horror movie and say that you like horror movies. You know what I mean? I'm not here to gatekeep the genre or like tell you how to be a horror fan. Anyone can be a horror fan. But there definitely are those people, right? We've all run into them at some point that are just super analytical and hypercritical of horror movies. But just because I dislike the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie does not make me one of those people, okay? I'm allowed to dislike that without you accusing me of being hypercritical of the genre as a whole. Just like people love to say, it's okay to like things. You can like things, It's also okay to dislike things. Do you like every single horror movie ever created? Probably not. I think we can absolutely go into a horror movie with really no expectations, wanting a good popcorn slasher movie with lots of gore, and still come out of it not liking it. I think that's fair. That definitely happens. And I kind of understand where people were coming from when I did my Halloween Kills review and how much criticism I got for liking that movie, because now I'm seeing it for the Texas movie, and I'm one of the people who love the original and don't like the requel. I guess it's a sequel, I don't know. And I want to acknowledge that I probably had similar discourse in that review of my Halloween Kills video because I went in with no expectations. I'm not attached to the original. I just wanted a good slasher movie, and that's exactly what I got from it. It didn't have to be too much, and I probably, said something like just have fun with it, And now I'm being told that about Texas, so I get it. So I know what some of the comments are going to say, that I'm personally too attached to the original Texas movie because it's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. So of course I would have high expectations or high standards for the new one. However, I went into it with absolutely nothing. In fact, I was trying very hard to avoid anyone talking about it because I wanted to form my own opinions about it. But I couldn't avoid it forever. I did see a bunch of people not liking it. So I actually went into it thinking, all right, it's probably going to be kind of bad, which is fine. I have an open mind though, you know, if it gives me some good gore and good kills, then, you know, I'm here for a good time with that. You know, there have already been bad remakes and sequels in the Texas Chainsaw universe, so I expected this to kind of be similar to that. But what I don't get is the judgment coming from the side of people who enjoyed this movie, telling people like me who disliked it, well, what did you expect? What did you want from it? First of all, I didn't want it at all. Never asked for it. Did not want it. Personally, tired of reboots, remakes, and sequels. Tired of that, which we'll get into a little bit later. Just don't want it. Also being told, manage your expectations. You know, maybe put them on the floor. Just, you know, no expectations or really, really low standards. Why? I think that's a little bit condescending to say, and very Gabby Hanna, if you remember that scandal. Manage your expectations. I think it's a little offensive, you know, to tell someone that, because it's okay to be excited and, you know, have hype around a movie. It's okay to do that. It's almost like being told, well, you didn't try hard enough to like it. And it's like, no, just some people don't like things. Some people just don't like certain horror movies. And that's okay. I don't know why I have to sit here and explain that, because before I would explain gatekeeping in the other direction, where people are like, oh, you like that movie? Well, you're clearly not a horror fan. You like early 2000s? That's the worst era of horror, so how can you call yourself a horror fan? I can't believe I'm going in the other direction now, saying like, you don't have to like everything. I thought that was a given. I did want to like it. I did. I went in with nothing, with no expectations. In fact, I was a little bit hyped for it as far as like seeing Leatherface again. I was like, cool, that's gonna be really, really awesome. And he was actually, not his character, but his appearance and the mask and everything that he wears was one of my favorite things about the movie. So like I said, I had some fun with it, but I don't like it as a whole. Why can't that be okay too? Why do we have to have judgment on either side? People who didn't like it, we don't need to judge people who like it. I don't care that you like it. I'm glad you do. I'm glad you got something out of it that I didn't. I've just seen such weird comments from people saying like, imagine being the miserable people who hates all horror sequels, reboots, and remakes. Miserable people. Let's take it down a notch. People saying, stop being critical of movies and just enjoy them. Or you should be grateful for any kind of breadcrumbs that we get in mainstream horror. I can be critical of movies. I can. I'm not a critic, but I can be if I want to. Like, who cares? Who cares? Just like you say it's not that serious. It's not that serious if people don't like things. It's okay. I just think it's ironic that Hollywood is spending millions of dollars on these budgets for these movies made by a small army of people. Like, hundreds of people are making this, and you're telling me to just turn my brain off and just lower my expectations and just have fun. And normally I would agree with that to an extent, but I think it's okay to have some kind of expectations that it's going to be decent, right? Like to expect some kind of something in there that you want to enjoy if they're spending so much money and there's so many people working on it. I saw another tweet saying, if you went into a slasher expecting an award-winning movie full of substance, then yeah, you're going to be disappointed. I've seen plenty of slasher movies that have substance, that have really good backstories, or no backstories, but it's a good story in general, like the, you know, overarching story. You can have some substance in a slasher. It's not unheard of. That's not what we watch them for. We don't watch Saw for the plot. Well, I know some of you do, so. I just don't like the judgment or the shame of like, well, what did you expect? Like, what did you want from it? Lower your expectations, or don't take anything too seriously. I'm not, but I can still dislike it even if I do those things, you know? So I want to say this, not that anyone needs to hear this from me. I'm a nobody. You can be a horror fan and not like every single horror movie ever released. I know. It's a crazy concept. I just don't like this judgment from either side of like, you take horror too seriously, you don't take it seriously enough. Who cares? It's just movies. It's just movies. Like, you're both taking it too seriously. You're both judging each other. No one cares what anyone else does. People are allowed to feel however they want about the genre. You can have that opinion of other people taking it too seriously or not seriously enough, whatever. You can feel that way. You can have an opinion about movies, But what's not okay is the public shaming and judgment from everyone going on. I don't know why Texas Chainsaw just like brought all this out of people. I think because it's like the 5th reboot, remake, and sequel in the past couple of years, and we're all just like, enjoy it. No, I don't want to. I want original. No, you're too serious. You need to, you know, lower your expectations a little. But just don't stoop to the other side. Like, gatekeeping goes both ways. You know, you're telling people they gotta like every horror movie to be a horror fan. That's gatekeeping. You know, don't stoop to their level of the other judgmental people on the other side of the spectrum. You can like every single horror movie that comes out. Not everyone's gonna agree with you though, and that's okay. So kind of back to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. In general, I think that some franchises are good at delivering certain aesthetics, and I think it's okay for people who like the franchise to want to have those standards. When you go too far from the source material, I think the movie suffers a little bit and the fans are going to be a little bit unhappy. And I think that's fair. I think fans are allowed to be unhappy. Just like with Halloween Kills, people were upset because Michael Myers didn't feel like Michael. He wasn't acting like Michael from the original, and I think that's fair for people to have that criticism. And I enjoyed that movie, but who am I to sit here and tell people who are huge fans of the original, well, what did you expect? Like, lower your expectations a little. You're being too critical of your favorite franchise. Why would you do that? Everyone has standards, you know? Everyone wants something different from a franchise installment, even though no one asked for it. I'm sure some of you are very excited about this era of horror right now, but personally, I'm not. I just think the genre is big enough. We can all like different things and still be valid horror fans. I don't think it's anyone's place to question if someone is a true horror fan based on what movies they like and dislike in the genre. I could rant on and on and on. This should probably be its own video because I'm already at 17 minutes of filming. I had to sleep on it though. I was getting upset seeing all the discourse on Twitter, especially of the back and forth about this movie specifically, and I was just like, why are we doing this? All this judgment and shaming on both sides. Like, who cares if you like it or don't like it? Like, everyone just thinks that everyone has to like what they like or dislike what they dislike, and they don't understand, they can't comprehend. And yes, I have done that before. There are absolutely movies where I'm like, I don't understand how you like it. I don't know. But I try to see the good in some things, like Texas. Did I like it overall? No, but there were some really good elements in it that I'll talk about. And then just a brief little note on the era that we're in with the reboots, remakes, and sequels. I'm seeing people saying, we'll just be grateful we're getting anything in the genre because any recognition is good. The genre has always been successful and it's huge. Does it win Oscars? No. Does it have to? Not really. Would it be nice? Sure. If it was recognized as like a legit genre, but the genre is humongous, right? It's not that we're not getting original horror every year. We're not just in the era of remakes, reboots, and sequels. I just think every original horror movie is being overshadowed by all these constant franchise installments, and it puts us in a position to have to work a lot harder in order to track down these original horror movies. Like The Curse, for example, came out in theaters on Friday, was completely overshadowed by Texas Chainsaw, and that movie just went on Netflix, whereas The Curse is in theaters, like a theater release. And I know there's debate amongst streaming and theater releases and all that kind of stuff, but Hollywood is recognizing where the money is. Everyone's trying to get in on the rebooting famous franchises. I know Final Destination is going to have another installment. We recently had Paranormal Activity, Candyman, Halloween, Scream. You know, it's just that era where everyone's trying to jump on that, and they just kind of feel like cash grabs to me. And I don't agree with the sentiment that we should just be grateful for anything that we get. I think we can want original things too, and we get them. We do. There's hundreds of original horror movies released every single year, but they're all overshadowed and they will never get the recognition that a new Scream movie or a new Texas movie does, you know? Casual horror fans, which is a majority of horror fans, are just going to be seeing these reboots of these franchises, and that's where all the money is going to be going. And then all this original horror goes under the radar. So anyway, that's kind of my conversation that I wanted to have with you. I just had to get those things off my chest because it's just obnoxious seeing it, and it just made me so tired that day. Like, I was in such a bad mood. I had to go touch grass. I literally went and touched grass because I'm like, I need to calm down. This is stupid. Why am I so upset about these people? Like, just let it go. So now let's get into why I disliked Texas Chainsaw and the things I did like about it. We're gonna start with the things I liked because I wanna go towards a positive note first and then we'll go back to negative. I feel like I've been negative this whole video so far. Anyway, things I liked. The setting. I did like the dead sunflower field. That was absolutely stunning. I wish the whole movie took place in a sunflower field. It's probably not realistic for the story, but oh my gosh, it was gorgeous. This movie was so beautifully shot, and I think we have some of the most stunning visuals of Leatherface in the entire franchise. It was beautiful. The cinematography is definitely my favorite thing about this movie. Like, I would frame so many stills from the movie, especially in the sunflower field. It's just gorgeous. The score was actually so good. Like I said before, I really like the new mask that he wears, the skin mask or whatever. I've seen some people criticize it. They don't like it. I get it, but I think it looks really cool and it's different. You know, it's original. Conceptually a little odd given who Leatherface is and like his character. I don't know. I just don't believe it, but visually, I liked it. And then the last non-spoilery thing that I really liked about the movie was the first death scene. I still think that the first death scene got my biggest reaction out of the whole movie, first of all. But I think it's the strongest death scene in the whole movie. And I thought it was really, really good. I kind of wanted that kind of stuff or that level of stuff more. But I don't know if it would have made sense in the story. Well, I don't know. Let me know if you agree. What was your favorite death scene? Now let's get into my long page full of notes of what I did not like about this movie. I didn't organize these, so it might go back and forth. And then going on from here will be spoilers. So everything that I have that's negative, I'm just worried I would spoil it. There's really no way to go around it to not spoil it. So just know I didn't like it, but I really liked those things about it. But yeah, spoilers starting now. First thing, Leatherface as a character. Like I said, I understand why people were critical of Michael Myers not acting like Michael. Leatherface was not acting like Leatherface. What happened? He was so smart in this movie, and it didn't feel accurate to his character. Like, he would set traps for people, and I just don't think the original Leatherface would. Maybe in the sequels, but I'm just going off of the original Leatherface comparison because this is supposed to be a sequel to the original, foregoing all sequels or remakes, so that's why I'm comparing. You know, he tried the oxygen machine when his mama was dying in the ambulance. I don't know if he would have reacted that way. They changed his character in the sense he doesn't make any noise anymore, and they probably wanted to tone that down a little bit because he is mentally disabled, and Gunnar Hansen studied those with mental disabilities in order to mimic their behaviors, so maybe they thought it was a little bit too much in today's world, so they wanted to dial that back a little bit, but obviously that's very different from his original character. I didn't get any emotion from him, which is frustrating because I feel like he expresses himself so much in the original, and I love that. You know, he helps his family, carries grandpa around, he grunts and yells a little bit, and he just like expresses himself more, so we get some emotion, and I didn't get any of that. You know, he expresses frustration. He had like one chainsaw swing, you know, in the new one, but that wasn't enough. Everything in the story was arbitrary. I didn't really like the plot point of the school shooting survivor. That didn't make sense to me because it went absolutely nowhere. Let me focus on that character for a second too, because the fact that she was a survivor of a school shooting and her character arc is she has to use a gun to defeat Leatherface is just a little off. You know, it just feels a little forced. Like, why would it go that route? Why couldn't she kill him with a chainsaw or something, you know? She like has to face her fear of guns, but then it puts out this idea that like, oh, guns are good sometimes. And it's like, no, that's not the point. She survived a school shooting. She should be anti-gun. Like, it just didn't make sense. It felt a little forced. Like, the deepness of the characters and like the sisters felt so forced and unnecessary. If you took out their entire relationship, made them random people, any backstory, took it out, it would be the same movie. Like nothing would be missing. Same thing with the gentrification of the town. I feel like that was like a lighthearted comment when that is something that actually does happen. I don't think we're meant to think that these people are cool or we're supposed to like them. You know, they're kind of annoying characters, but it just takes like these like heavy subjects of school shootings and gentrification and makes them super lighthearted. That just seems a little inappropriate. That's just my social commentary on the movie. Let's talk about Sally. I'm so annoyed that they brought back Sally Hardesty in that way. Marilyn Burns would probably never have signed on to this movie. And, you know, rest her soul. I feel like it would have been kind of embarrassing of a script to present to her because you're gonna treat her, forget everything else about the movie, the storyline, Leatherface, anything like that. If you're gonna present Sally's character like that to Marilyn Burns, that would be embarrassing. So you probably should have rewrote it a little bit. I don't know what it was. This movie felt like a Halloween movie because Leatherface was acting more like Michael Myers, in my opinion. Sally Hardesty was acting more like Laurie Strode. That probably wouldn't happen. I love Sally, but she's not a Laurie, and that's fine. You know, she is great at running. She loses her mind a little bit at the end. Why all of a sudden would she become a Laurie Strode character and like super badass? I mean, not that she can't, but it just doesn't seem believable for her character. Also, they brought her back just to kill her. I didn't hate that they killed her. It was the way in which they wrote her whole story and her character arc and everything like that. It was that bothered me. I actually liked that they were not afraid to kill her and, you know, kill the sister and everything like that. I liked that because they, you know, push it a little bit. It's a little bit unexpected because you think of Sally as the final girl, so she's gonna be the final girl again, just like in Halloween. Since they're basically making their own version of Halloween, we kind of expect that formula. There was no point to bringing her back. She could have been any badass lady. She could have been the sheriff. There was no like real sheriff character in this one, and I feel like that was a missed opportunity. Stupid characters, probably intentional. This movie's campy. It's supposed to be, I think it's self-aware of like the goofiness of this, obviously, because they cut to this scene where it's streaming on, it's like a live stream of Leatherface, which never thought I'd see that in a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Not a huge fan of the modernization of the story like that, and also not a huge fan that movies now are constantly putting in the characters of influencers in there. I'm just like, kind of, I know it's relevant, but I'm over it. One of the most frustrating examples of a stupid ass character that really pissed me off was the girl who runs into the bus. She just saw Dante die. She runs into the bus driver's like, what's going on? She's like, don't go out there. And what does he do? He goes out there later in the story because she did not tell anyone that someone just died. She told no one. She did not tell a soul. She saw someone murdered. Maybe she was in shock. I don't know. But you'd think that'd be the first thing out of your mouth. Like, oh, there's a killer out there, or someone was just murdered in front of my face. Like, he's dead or something. Because then the bus driver just goes out there for no reason and dies because she doesn't say anything. I will say the bus scene was pretty decent. That's another thing I liked that felt a little spoilery to put in the beginning. I liked the bus scene besides the cut to the phone. I feel like they could have done that shot differently, like zoom in on someone's hand holding a phone or something versus like cutting to the phone all of a sudden. It just felt so jarring. Like, what was that? But I did like the bus scene in general, how brutal it was, how he just hacked up everyone. There was so much blood and guts and gore, and then all the hands on the back window in the end of that scene with the blood. So good. I really liked the visuals of that. Like I mentioned before, none of the characters are likable, and they don't have to be. I feel like they tried to make the sisters likable. I mean, the main, you know, final girl of the movie was likable, I guess, but we just get breadcrumbs of everyone's story, so it makes us not care about anyone really. I mean, maybe there are people who did feel connected to them or, you know, attached to their characters in some way. Not me. I didn't get enough to care about anyone. And maybe you don't have to in a slasher movie like this. You know, I've seen people say that, like, if you go in expecting depth, then you're, you know, gonna be disappointed. So I get it. We don't need a lot of backstory to everyone, but I feel like the original Texas, there's really no real backstory to the characters or the story or anything, but you care about the characters. I feel like their portrayal of these people, they feel like real people to me. The new one feels forced. So there's a difference between having no real backstory or character development, but still wanting to root for these people and them feeling like people that are, you know, real, versus having no backstory and these characters feel absolutely forced. I don't know anyone like them. Like, they're just really annoying. Also, there's a difference between campy in a good way and campy in a bad way, and everyone is going to have different interpretations of that and what makes a good campy movie and what doesn't. Personally, this was campy in a bad way for me. It was a little bit too much, too in your face, and it just felt odd, and it's not my favorite kind of portrayal of horror, if that makes sense. Like the modernization of it, the technology, the influencers, just like the keywords that they throw in there. I'm just not a fan of that kind of horror, and I'm worried that that's just what we're gonna get more and more these days. I can only turn off my brain so much in a movie, and sometimes I don't want to do that. And with this one, you do have to do that. I wish I didn't have to as part of the Texas franchise, you know, because the original, you don't have to turn your brain off to enjoy it because it's all right there for you. It's, you know, a great movie. Great characters, great Leatherface. I absolutely love the original Leatherface, but I can still understand why some people like this movie. I'm not here to say, like, why would you even like this? It's not good. Objectively, I'm not saying it's not good, you know, it's my opinion. I didn't get much out of it other than beautiful visuals and some good kills. It did have some really good kills. Some of it was a little bit cheesy and disappointing. I didn't like the kill of the blonde girl who doesn't even have a name, where her, like, gut is just slashed. You know, I wanted some more creative kills because the first one was so good. But then again, does that feel like Leatherface? Not really. That feels more like Halloween Kills or Michael Myers in Halloween Kills, which that's not even truly Michael. So I don't know. Everyone's just trying to mimic each other at this point, it feels like. Anyway, as someone who enjoys the Halloween sequels, I get it. You know, I understand why some people would like this movie. So with all of that being said, I've been filming forever. I don't know how much of that rant I'm gonna cut out, but I would love to know your thoughts about it and everything that I talked about in this, and of course your thoughts on the new Texas movie. But please keep it respectful. If I see judgment of anyone, or, you know, being rude or shaming anyone for their opinion, I will delete your comment because I'm just tired of seeing it. I don't need it on my channel. So please be respectful. It's okay to share your opinion. Just don't look down your nose at others because they disagree with you. You know, there's no need for that. We don't have any room for that in the horror genre. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.